Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Good Game Podcast. This is episode number 12 of the Good Game Podcast. I am your host, A1K, if you didn't know, and we have a lot of great and fun information to cover in this episode of the Good Game Podcast. But before we get into it, do me a quick favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Also, hit that bell notification so you don't miss any videos. As soon as they drop, you can go ahead and check it out. And one last thing, don't forget to share a video with a friend or two who may enjoy this content. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick things off first with a little music news. So unless you've been living under a rock the past couple of days, you may have heard this little project from an artist named Kendrick Lamar. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the project and give our opinions on each track from the album. And according to Billboard, we're going to list each track in order of best to worst. And this is a 12-track album. And I think there were a lot of hits, a lot of songs people will enjoy to play over and over again. Maybe a few songs people don't like too much, but this is still an overall solid project. And that's why we have to cover it here on the Good Game Podcast. So, Kendrick Lamar is rap's undoubted MVP of 2024, no doubt, and decided to surprise his fans on Friday, November 22nd with the release of his GNX album. The project seemingly dropped out of the blue without warning around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like I said before, 12 tracks with a few known artists and a few not so known artists that are features on this project. A few of the names include SZA, which is a longtime TDE running mate, Sam Du, as well as emerging artists such as Dara Barrera, Ink, Dottie Six, AZ Chike, and more. Forgive me if I'm not saying those names completely right, but I just want to make sure y'all get that. Kendrick was rumored to be cooking up an album in the wake of battling Drake, and the Compton native came through. GNX follows Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers in 2022, which topped the Billboard 200 with 295,000 total units earned in the first week. Producer Soundwave notches co-production credits across the project, while Jack Antonoff and Kamasi Washington also make appearances. Lamar dropped off a teaser before the album hit streaming services with the clip featuring what appears to be a super rare 1987 Buick Grand National Regal GNX, which inspired the album title. With the Super Bowl on the horizon, K-Dot will have new music with him when he heads to New Orleans to take the Super Bowl halftime show stage in February. Even prior to the album's arrival, Lamar notched 7 Grammy Award nominations earlier this month, 5 of which came tied to his Not Like Us Drake diss. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive into the album. Each of the 12 tracks ranked from worst to best. Let's get it. All right, so coming in at number 12, we have Dodger Blue. And this is a track that I feel personally could have been ranked a little bit higher, but you know, it's only a 12-track project loaded with a lot of phenomenal songs, so I can't really be too upset at that. It was one of the more chill, laid-back songs on the project, but I happen to like Dodger Blue. I feel like this probably would have been a top 5 song if these were my rankings. Keep in mind, these are the Billboard rankings, so each song will be ranked according to how Billboard sees it. So with Dodger Blue, Kenny weaves through the distorted bounce with a hazy flow with some help from Ink, Siete, and Roddy Ricch. The West Coast tribute fails to break through like some other stronger tracks on the LP. So it's forced to blend in with the background. And like I said before, I would have had this song ranked a little bit higher on the project. But I am kind of biased, growing up in Southern California, being a Dodger fan. I saw Dodger Blue immediately. I liked the song without even hearing it. And then I heard the song and I was liking that too. So phenomenal song, definitely going to be in my rotation. But we have Dodger Blue coming in at number 12. Number 11, we have Peekaboo, which is crazy because I feel like this would have easily been in top 5. But, I understand it's only a 12 song project, so can't be too particular. So Peekaboo is a perfect descriptor aligning with Lamar's career. He only comes out of hiding on his own terms to shake up the game and then can go back into hibernation for months without anyone hearing a word. A social media post, a TMZ paparazzi photo, or anything from him at all. As Charlemagne the God described him, K-Dot really is rap's boogeyman, or the rap version of WWE legend Undertaker. Was that Kendrick mimicking NBA star Kawhi Leonard's viral "Hey Hey Hey" clip? This guy can work just about anything into the flow of a song. And yes, Peekaboo is an absolute banger. Definitely something you will hear a lot in these next couple of months. And Peekaboo coming in at number 11. Number 10, we have Hey Now. Only Kendrick can turn irrelevant sayings like "Hey Now, Say Now" into a menacing chorus. The pulsating reverb transitions to traditional Cali bounce, and Kendrick opens the floor for an assist from emerging LA rapper Dottie 6. And yes, this is an absolute banger. Hey Now is one of those tracks that's going to get a lot of play in my playlist, definitely. And this is a saying that a lot of people say in LA, if you don't know, "Hey Now, Say Now." Definitely something that became popularized in the mid 2010s, late 2010s. And it's just good to see Kendrick bring that back to the rap scene because, it's something that we haven't really heard too much, especially coming out of LA. So definitely a well-known statement. So number 9, we have G&X, the song titled after the name of the album. In the midst of Kendrick's and Drake's feud, a repeated take in an attempt to ding Lamar was that he rarely uplifted younger artists coming from Los Angeles. It feels like he intentionally made that part of his story with G&X, especially with the title track. He shouts about putting the West Coast back in front of shit. Then he takes a back seat as the iconic UCLA head coach John Wooden and allows Young Threat, Peso, and Hater J3 to run the 3-man weave. Coming in at number 8, Gloria. Gloria serves as Kendrick's version of Common's memorable "I Used to Love Her" in what starts out as a love song. Lamar vulnerably opens up about the complications and toxicities of his relationship with what appears to be his fiancée, Whitney. While she had other suitors on their journey, he also had commitment issues. However, the final line reveals K-Dot was talking about his love for his pen, with references to writer's block, placating his enduring journey to the top of the food chain in this rap game. Coming in at number 7, we have "Man at the Garden," a second hat tip to Nas as Kendrick seemingly interpolates the Queensbridge icon's 2002 One Mic. Lamar draws up a scenario of being at Heaven's Gate seeking eternal life. He builds out a case about how his life's practices have prepared him for this moment while powering through trials and tribulations. "I did it with integrity and niggas still try to hate on me. Just wait and see, more blood will be spilling. It's just paint to me," Kenny promises. At number 6, we have "Whacked Out Murals." And this song is a haunting beat if I ever heard one. So Kendrick balances an ego boost coming off his dominant Drake victory and spewing his version of a State of the Union, all while riding in his G&X bumping Anita Baker. Dot grapples with his Lil Wayne fandom while taking what he hoped was his spot at the Super Bowl halftime show in Weezy's hometown. He was baffled by the backlash and shouted out Nas for showing him love. There aren't many direct references to his Drake feud, but Lamar lets his disappointment in Snoop be known after the Dogfather reposted Drizzy's AI-assisted tailor-made freestyle. I prayed it was the edibles. I couldn't believe it. It was only right for me to let it go, he raps. And this is an interesting song because it really has to do with the fact that Kendrick is noticing a lot of the artists he looked up to when he was earlier in his career aren't really too happy about his success, especially if it comes at the lack of their success. And it's just unfortunate because, you definitely want to see the older generation gracefully pass the baton to the newer generation. But sometimes there's a conflict of interest within that transition, and a lot of the older artists don't necessarily want to peacefully bow down to the newer artists. So sometimes you get conflict in that regard, and you don't like to see it. But at the end of the day, in this genre of hip hop, everyone is a competitor and everyone wants to be the best. So you can really not expect anything less when you're dealing with artists of this magnitude. Coming in at number 5, Luther. An all-star lineup of Jack Antonoff, Soundwave, Cardo, and Kamasi Washington are among the cast, lending their talents to the luscious production of Luther, which builds around a sample of Luther Vandross and Cheryl Lynn's If This World Were Mine. SZA joins the party for her and Kendrick's 5th collaboration, and their chemistry hasn't taken a step back as they mix vocals with ease for a smooth blending of rapping and singing. K-Dot takes away the world's darkness and reimagines a society without pain and suffering. At number 4, The Heart Part 6. Definitely one of the better tracks on the album, if I must say so, as far as lyricism and storytelling. Drake attempted to mock Kendrick's The Heart series with his own installment in the Decorated series that originated in 2010. But as Lamar made a habit of in their feud, Dot flipped the script to up the score with the real 6th edition on The Heart Part 6. Soundwave and Jack Antonoff lay out an ethereal soundscape built around a soothing Neptune-produced SWV sample for Kendrick to reminisce on his humble beginnings surrounded by his TDE family members like J-Rock and Ab-Soul. Lamar briefly allows his ego to creep in. Time flies, I'm carrying debates of a top 5, he raps, but also take accountability for his Black Hippie supergroup falling flat. I jog my memory knowing Black Hippie didn't work because of me. Creatively, I move on with new concepts and reach, unquote. He candidly admits it's another worthy chapter in the books. And I think it's very important that Kendrick took this time in this song to really acknowledge the fact that he had a lot to do with the downfall of the rap group Black Hippie. Although the members of Black Hippie are still cool and they're still friends and there's no discourse between them, we haven't really gotten a lot of music from those core 4 artists together as a collective in quite some time. And Kendrick really addresses that fact, saying that basically he is the reason for that, and that creatively he just wanted to go in different directions, and that's why we are where we are today. All right, so we made it to the top 3. If you made it this far in the video, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button and share the video with a friend who may want to see this. And let's get into it. Top 3 songs on the album. So coming in at number 3, according to Billboard, Squabble Up definitely deserves to be in the top 3. No complaints about that. Sampling Debbie Dubs' When I Hear Music makes this some of the most fun production across the entire project. Initially teased as a snippet tentatively titled Broccoli over the summer, fans were happy to hear the full track live up to the hype. Squabble Up gets to the shoulders bobbing as Kendrick basks in his status as his most brash self. At number 2, we have TV Off. Definitely one of the biggest standouts from the album. Could have easily been number 1 in my opinion, but Billboard has it at number 2. Kendrick yelling mustard has to be the next little Kendrickism to go viral on social media. The meme possibilities are endless, and the Not Like Us producer has to at least sample that in the future, right? Mustard told Billboard he's considering it as his new tag. The beat makes a stark transition from G-Funk Cali bounce in the realm of Not Like Us to a triumphant horns as Lamar lets society know how disgusted he is with where things are at. As we've seen on plenty of other tracks, Kenny has no issue diabolically letting his hate for certain pockets of culture fly. And at number 1, Reincarnated. I can definitely see why this was ranked number 1. You could have put a lot of songs at number 1, honestly, but because you have to make a list and you have to be honest, I can see why this was rated number 1 by Billboard. Song making at its finest, Kendrick's versatility along with his vivid storytelling ability allow him to shine brightest on Reincarnated, which comes in at number 1, which samples Tupac's Made Niggas. Lamar pays homage to the West Coast deity while mirroring an aggressive flow from Pac. He cinematically connects to the spirits of a 1940s guitarist, possibly John Lee Hooker or Jackie Wilson, and a 60s singer on the chitlin circuit, Tammy Terrell or Dina Washington, who struggled with substance abuse using 8 balls of cocaine as medicine. Dot then turned the camera lens on himself for the final poignant verse as he battles his demons while looking to rewrite the devil's story. And that is it for our coverage of the GNX album from Kendrick Lamar. All 12 songs ranked in order according to Billboard. Let me know how you feel in the comment section about the ranking of the songs, whether you agree, disagree, feel like things should be moved around, whatever the case may be. Let me know in the comment section. And with that being said, let's move on to our next topic of the day. All right, so let's get into some NFL news. Just wrapping up week 12 of the NFL schedule, and on paper, Sunday afternoon's week 12 NFL games didn't exactly look like the most entertaining day of football, but I must say it turned out to be just that. While the second slate of games ended up being one-sided, the early window delivered a series of frantic finishes and shocking turns. The final few minutes of regulation in those games were the best advertisement the NFL could ever do for the Red Zone channel. And I did get a chance to watch NFL Red Zone this weekend. Shout out to NFL Red Zone, man. Y'all are the GOAT when it comes to watching football on Sunday. You can watch just about every touchdown, every big play from every major game on NFL Red Zone. So if you guys haven't already checked that out, go ahead and check that out from your local service provider. So some of the most massive plays didn't actually win their teams the game this week. The Panthers used a pair of pass interference penalties to set up a touchdown and the game-tying 2-point conversion from the 1-yard line against the Chiefs, but they left Patrick Mahomes just enough time to scramble into field goal range for a Kansas City victory. And it's very disappointing to see the Carolina Panthers give up that play, because honestly, if they stop Patrick Mahomes from scrambling and making that big play towards the end of the game, they more than likely win that game. And we're talking about the Carolina Panthers beating the Kansas City Chiefs. But because they were unable to do that, and honestly, I didn't watch a lot of that particular game, but the play that we're talking about where Patrick Mahomes scrambled towards the end of the game to secure the victory, had Carolina had implemented a QB spy or just dedicated one defender to watching the quarterback instead of having everybody basically drop back in coverage, they probably would have gotten the stop and prevented the Chiefs from winning that game. But that just goes to show you the greatness of Patrick Mahomes and realizing the situation at hand, knowing that he doesn't have to necessarily force the ball into a bad situation. He can just run the ball and put his team in a good position to kick the game-winning field goal. The Bears scored 10 points in 26 seconds to tie their game with the Vikings and lost. And the Commanders pulled off something that was even more miraculous than their Hail Mary victory over the Bears and still managed to lose by 8 points. Needless to say, it was a very strange day in the NFL. So just briefly, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I wasn't able to watch every game this past Sunday, but this definitely was a notable week. I think the game that stood out to me the most was the Commanders being able to almost put themselves in a position to beat the Dallas Cowboys. However, it just didn't happen. A lot of people were expecting more miracles from the Washington Commanders than they're actually able to provide. People have to realize that the Commanders are working with a rookie quarterback. So they really don't have a lot of experience as far as professional experience at that position. So you can only expect the quarterback to do so much. At the end of the day, your playmakers have to make plays, and guys have to do what they're getting paid to do. So the Cowboys ended up winning the game 34-26. This game had so much happen within the last few minutes. I believe it was stated that there were 4 touchdowns scored in the last 3 minutes of this game, which is insane. I definitely was able to catch this game towards the end of it. And, halfway I expected Jaden Daniels to actually complete another Hail Mary like he did against the Bears, but you can't expect 2 miracles in one season. That's asking for a lot. So the Commanders seem to be slightly regressing towards what they were last year, but definitely still a strong team. Going to be looking forward to seeing them play in the future. And shout out to the Dallas Cowboys for ending their 5-game losing streak. So a lot of great games this Sunday. Definitely looking forward to the Monday night game. We have tonight Baltimore Ravens versus Los Angeles Chargers. Looks like as of now, Baltimore is the favorite to win the game, as they should be. Although the Ravens are 7-4 and the Chargers are 7-3, I think that Baltimore has a slight advantage as far as running the ball from both the quarterback and the running back position. And the Chargers definitely have some weaknesses, specifically on their defensive side. Not really the strongest, but anything can happen. I'm going to rock with the Ravens. And honestly, I would probably go over. Looks like right now the total is 50 points. So, I would project the final score to be something like, I think both teams scored at least 4 touchdowns, honestly. I think it's going to be one of those games where we're looking at like 28-21 type score, maybe even higher than that. But I think both teams definitely score more than 25 points. So I would take the over on that game. All right, so moving on to our last segment of the show. If you're still here and you're this far in the video, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and push that bell notification so you get notified every time we drop a new video. And with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into our last segment of the day. So, a little women's basketball news. I don't typically watch a lot of women's basketball, I'm going to be honest with you. I try to pick up a game here and there, but since the end of the WNBA season, I really haven't watched too much women's basketball, but I will start to get more into it as we head towards March Madness. So, South Carolina's 43-game win streak ends with a loss to UCLA. The defending champion South Carolina Gamecocks had been on the winning side of dominant performances against ranked teams countless times over the past few years. But on Sunday at Pauley Pavilion, the tables finally turned. Trailing by as many as 23, the number 1 Gamecocks suffered their first loss since 2023 Final Four, ending a program record 43-game winning streak with a 77-62 defeat to number 5 UCLA in front of a crowd of 3,659 people. It was the largest loss by an AP number 1 team since January 2020, the Gamecocks' largest defeat since the 2019 Sweet 16, and their first road loss since December 2021. It doesn't feel good when you're on the receiving end of it, but you also know you got beat by a great team, executing on both sides, South Carolina coach Dawn Staley said. That was beautiful basketball by UCLA. Beautiful on both sides. And I think that shows good sportsmanship by Dawn Staley, that she's able to acknowledge that the other team just played great basketball. And she's been able to develop South Carolina into a phenomenal basketball program and one of the greatest of all time. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, this win streak was one for the record books. May not ever happen again in basketball history on the women or men's side, to be completely honest with you. So I definitely want to give kudos to Dawn Staley and shout out to the South Carolina women for making this run so phenomenal and historical that when they did eventually lose, it became a headline, and we're talking about it today. South Carolina, which finished undefeated last season after winning the program's third championship in 7 years, had previously been tested this season by unranked Michigan in its opener, winning by 6, and later by then number 9 North Carolina State, prevailing by 14. But Sunday, UCLA dominated on both ends. Its relentless defense, as Staley put it, holding the Gamecocks to just 62 points on 36.4% shooting from the field. The Bruins quickly turned a 9-point second quarter lead into a 20-point halftime advantage, with South Carolina managing only 22 points on a 26.5% shooting clip at the break. It was the Gamecocks' first double-digit halftime deficit since December 2021. And first 20-point halftime deficit since March 2019. And I'm going to go ahead and say that one more time just in case you guys missed it. This just goes to show the greatness of the South Carolina Gamecocks. If you didn't know, at least on the women's side, it was the Gamecocks' first double-digit halftime deficit since December 2021. And first 20-point halftime deficit since March 2019. And here we are in November of 2024, witnessing and reflecting upon this magnificent run by the women of the South Carolina University. Staley says she thought her squad did a solid job limiting Bruins center Laura Betts to 11 points, but, quote, we got killed by everyone else, unquote. 4 other UCLA players reached double figures, led by London Jones, 15, 5 for 5 on three-pointers off the bench. And guys, whenever you have a player come off the bench and they shoot 5 for 5 three-pointers off the bench, that's really devastating to a team, because typically you want to see the team you're playing against fall back in scoring once the bench unit comes on. So to have a player come on the bench unit, go 5 for 5 from 3, that's 15 points just right there. So you can't afford to take those type of discrepancies when you're going back and forth in these basketball games. So, and they know that as a team. It's just when a team gets high and you can't stop them and they're not missing shots, at that point in time, there's not really much you can do as a defense. The Bruins held the Gamecocks to only 18 points in the paint and on fast break points. South Carolina also committed the same number of turnovers as assists and was out-rebounded 41-34. So that just goes to show you that even a world-class team like the women of South Carolina can be beat by a good team if the good team is playing exceptionally well. And also South Carolina beat themselves by committing 13 turnovers, which is a lot. Definitely too much than you would like to have in a basketball game. Being out-rebounded 41-34, yeah, that's a big deal. You definitely don't want to get out-rebounded by about eight rebounds or so. Those definitely do count. But I don't think rebounding was the biggest takeaway from this game. I think UCLA, just looking at the stat sheet, UCLA started getting hot at the right time, and South Carolina kind of got gassed out. Started playing a little lackadaisical defensively, and it just started catching up to them. And before you know it, they were losing the game. And for a team to only have 2 losses in 2 years says a lot about the program itself. But anytime a program of this caliber does suffer a loss, suffer a loss, they definitely want to take a deep dive and analyze what went wrong so they can bounce back and be even better next time. UCLA was no slouch as the preseason's number 5 team in the country, but dominating the 2024 champs wire to wire and leading much of the game by 20 plus points made for one of the most impressive performances this young season. The Bruins also proved themselves as one of the deepest teams in the country, producing 34 bench points, and with close remarking they essentially have 8 starters. Though Bet had a quiet scoring game, she made her presence felt in every other facet of the game with a game-high 14 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocked shots. Freshman Elena Arniasalo also had a big afternoon with 13 points and 4 assists. The performance gives UCLA an argument for earning the number 1 ranking in the Associated Press poll when it's revealed Monday afternoon. The Bruins, who are coming off a Sweet 16 loss in the 2024 NCAA tournament, are hoping this is the breakthrough season that delivers their first NCAA Final Four appearance. The program previously played in the Elite Eight twice and won an AIAW championship in 1978. So with that being said, definitely want to give a shout out to the women of UCLA, shout out to the women of the South Carolina University, and shout out to all women in general playing in collegiate sports. It's not the easiest thing to do, but you guys make it look so effortless and easy. Want to give kudos to y'all, and definitely looking forward to the NCAA tournament next year in March. And I think this is a matchup we could see going forward. You know, there's no reason why both of these teams can't make it to the Final Four. I don't see why not. So definitely looking forward to it. Don't be too down on yourself for taking this loss at UCLA. It's only your second loss in 2 years. You guys are still a great program. People are still going to tune in to watch you guys play. You still have a Hall of Fame head coach. There's so much to look forward to as a fan of South Carolina women's sports and sports in general. So definitely glad we covered that in today's episode. Let me know in the comment section what team you guys support on the women's collegiate side and the men's collegiate side as well. Let me know in the comment section. And with that being said, we are going to wrap up episode 12 of the Good Game Podcast. This is A1K signing off. Until next time, peace.